Hey, what's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining us again. Today's Rethink Solutions is an important one and can be a difficult one. And flushing out the problem, we're left with a lot of questions. Firstly, what is good drinking water? And once you start peeling back the first layer of the onion, you come to realize this is quite a deep quagmire.
Oh, for the love of Pete!
You know, how do I know what's good? Hard versus soft water, filter versus spring water. I'm sitting here scratching my head as we're being thrown into all these train tragedies across the state of Ohio and all these chemicals going into the local waste and nature centers across the country. And I'm left wondering, well, is that impacting my water? I live in the Cleveland area, and the first major spill happened in East Palestine. Are we getting any water near there? So I had to do some digging. Where does our water come from, and what should I be looking for? What makes good water, and what makes bad water? The problem we're faced with is we live in a corporate state where everybody has their interests involved, and so it's difficult to find the right answer. You know, I had some guy at work telling me that, hey, if you're drinking purified water, your body's absorbing zero water. It has none of the right nutrients and minerals in it for it to absorb into your body, so it's going right through you, and it's a total waste. Well, that, you know, I get it. That's just everybody thinks that they're a scientist because they read it on the internet once. So it's up to John and I to filter out, pun intended, what's the best drinking water and the best way to approach finding those sources. So, John, we're going to get to our solutions, but is there anything else that I missed in the problem of drinking water?
Well, yeah, you mentioned, the source. You can learn a lot about the source. You have hard and soft. Hard meaning you have a lot of heavy metals in it, and you can taste that. Also, you got the issue of chemicals. You have chemicals in the water system to keep it clean, but you're going to be drinking that if you're not filtering it. And then the other issue is that when you use the restroom and if you take medication, that cycles through, and I found that not all of the medication and the chemicals in the water that get put into the system get filtered out, because the filtration systems aren't built to filter out all these chemicals. And then when they go to test it, they're not testing for all those chemicals. So it's a very hairy situation.
Exactly. So the beauty of today's solution is that we could go right into it. We're presented with the problem, what's the water to drink, and how do we siphon out the different types of sources. Now let's get to our solution. So, John, let's start with hard versus soft. First, we got to determine hard versus soft water. And as John had alluded to, hard water is the excess of calcium and magnesium, while soft water is free from these harsh minerals that can damage your home and body. It is gentle with calcium and, magnesium removed through the water, which makes it softer. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what you're going to look for. But we're not going to expect you to have water testing kits, and so you're going to be more reliant, I assume, on kind of your local community systems to assure you that the water you're getting isn't becoming too hard. And you'll see through a lot of what we've researched, most of it comes down to, well, check with your local providers and make sure that it's up to snuff, because some of that, it varies. That's the scariest part, is it varies. And while we're having this conversation, we keep sending money to gender study classes in Palestine when we don't have clean drinking water in Michigan, and you're able to throw your head in the sand and ignore that because you're sitting in Los Angeles or Cleveland or Houston and your water's clean. But we forget how many people suffer in America with poor drinking water. Secondly, to consider, we needed to think about, filtered versus spring. This was one of the more difficult issues for me to siphon out, trying to figure out spring versus purified. Spring water and purified water are popular and excellent choices. Spring water is naturally filtered through the underground. It's collected from springs or boreholes. Meanwhile, purified water is any type of water that has undergone a controlled filtration and purification process to remove the impurities and contaminants. Now, here's what's interesting. You can have the same source of water being bottled as spring, then further purified as purified or filtered water, and it's the same source of water, but one contains more of those natural spring minerals than the other. So is one better than the other? Purified water is of significantly higher purity than spring water, tap water, or groundwater. There's no right answer. Still, to put it simply, spring water and purified water can come from the same source, but purified water undergoes a more rigorous purification process. So here's the problem I'm running into. Nobody wants to give me that answer. Which one is better? Now, what we are learning is the minerals that you are getting from the spring water is very beneficial. So I'm not seeing anything in the literature that's indicating why it'd be better to remove that. And again, to the conspiracy theories that the guy at the water jug is pushing at work, how much of that is real? Is purified water really killing you? Are you really not absorbing any of it? I can't say that can be the case if so many people across the world are probably running on just purified water, right? Smart water, Fiji water, those types of things. But that's why they say, I'm sorry, I misspoke. I know Fiji water is a spring water, and that's why they try to push you to that over smart water. So, okay, well, now you're standing at you're about to go on the plane, and you're stuck with the duty-free store, and you're just like, what water do I get? I also notice with a lot of the spring water, you've got like this heavy taste. Okay, well, I'll take on the taste if it's benefiting me. The problem is I'm not seeing a clear-cut answer except for the additives in spring water are going to benefit you, and so I don't see a problem with I see more of a problem in removing them. John, let me flip it over to you before we get into the more details of our solutions, because I know that you have more of a deeper understanding when it comes to all these different types of waters.
Yeah, do you want me to mention the type of waters? What do you want me to get into?
Sure, yeah. Give us the rigmarole.
Well, there's different types of ways to filter your water, and one of the more popular ways is one popular way is distilling your water. I usually have a conversation with people. I'm like, pay attention to how it gets shipped. If it gets shipped into shipped in any type of plastic, even if that's non-toxic plastic, you still have leaching. I mean, you don't know where the water bottles were on the way to the grocery store. Were they on a truck, and then en route they were sitting on a pallet in the middle of the sun? I mean, that's not good. You should not. They
just
say
real
don't
quick, not to cut you
don't leave
off.
your stuff in the.
But what you're alluding to is the plastic particulates that get decomposed due to the storing conditions, all of that. That's what's one of the things that I learned in my environmental class in high school was that these plastic bottles we use, and that's why it's such a problem cooking your food in plastic. And to John's point, you don't know the storage conditions that plastic bottle was in. So if it's sitting in a shipping crate cooking, you're going to have more of those plastic particulates that were broken down and released into your water, and now you're drinking cancer water. So it's a delicate balance. You got to know what it's in. I just wanted to address kind of what that process was. The plastic is actually breaking down into your water.
Yeah, bad stuff. But my favorite is structured and distilled. Those are my two favorites.
Okay. So let's get into kind of that filtration system and what it looks like. What does water treatment look like? This is according to the CDC, so you know it's true, you know it's right. God bless the science gods. Okay, so there's kind of 5 steps here. 5 steps that we need to focus on. Coagulation, flocculation, or flocculation. I kept looking on the internet for the best way to pronounce this, and it gave me both. So I'm going with flocculation, sedimentation, filtration, and disinfection. So we start here with coagulation. Coagulation is often the first step in water treatment. During coagulation, chemicals with a positive charge are added to the water. The positive charge neutralizes the negative charge of dirt and other dissolved particles in the water. When this occurs, the particles bind with the chemicals to form slightly larger particles. Common chemicals used in this step include specific types of salts, aluminum, or iron. Now comes flocculation. Flocculation follows the coagulation step. Flocculation is the gentle mixing of the water to form larger, heavier particles called flocks. Often, water treatment plants will add additional chemicals during this step to help the flocks form. More chemicals, yum, yum, yum. Sedimentation. Sedimentation is one of the steps in water treatment that the water plants use to separate out solids from the water. During sedimentation, flocks settle to the bottom of the water because they are heavier than water. Next comes filtration. Once the flocks have settled to the bottom of the water, the clear water on top is filtered and to separate the solids from the water. During filtration, the clear water passes through the filters that have different pore sizes and are made of different materials such as sand, gravel, or charcoal. These filters remove dissolved particles and germs such as dust, chemicals, parasites, bacteria, and viruses. Activated carbon filters also remove any bad odors. Water treatment plants can use a process called ultrafiltration in addition to or instead of traditional filtration. During ultrafiltration, the water goes through a filter membrane with very small pores. This filter only lets through water and other small molecules such as salts and tiny charged molecules. Reverse osmosis is another filtration method that removes additional particles from water. Water treatment plants often use reverse osmosis when treating recycled water, also called reused water or salt water for drinking. Final step comes disinfection. After the water has been filtered, water treatment plants may add one more chemical disinfectant, such as chlorine, chloramine, or chlorine dioxide, to kill any remaining parasites, bacteria, or viruses. To help keep water safe as it travels to homes and businesses, water treatment plants will make sure that the water has low levels of the chemical disinfectant when it leaves the treatment plant. This remaining disinfectant kills germs living in the pipes between the water plant and your tap. In addition to or instead of adding chlorine, chloramine, or chlorine dioxide, water treatment plants can also disinfect water using ultraviolet light or ozone. UV light and ozone work well to disinfect water in the treatment plant, but these disinfectant methods do not continue killing germs as water travels through the pipes between the treatment plant and your tap. Wrapping up here, water may be treated differently in different communities depending on the quality of the source of water that enters the treatment plant. The water that enters the treatment plant is most often either surface water or groundwater. Surface water typically requires more treatment and filtration than groundwater because lakes, rivers, and streams contain more sediment, sand, clay, salt, and other soil particles, germs, chemicals, and toxins than regular groundwater. Some water supplies may contain radionuclides, small radioactive particles, specific chemicals such as nitrates, or toxins such as those made by cyan bacteria. Specialized methods to control or remove these contaminants can also be part of the water treatment. So again, it's a deep, complicated system, but of course the catch-all way of avoiding all of it is that it varies and every local treatment facility does it differently. So how do you know what yours is doing in comparison to what, I don't know, the standard should be? Again, you're kind of left there, and they put all the homework on you. You got to look with your local water treatment plant. Check in on it. It's kind of like the catch-all with like your representatives. We'll just write your governor. It's like, oh yeah, it's just that easy. For me to know that my water isn't killing me, I got to be a water expert, and I got to go to the place and watch that they're actually doing it up to snuff. Great. John, any other additional thoughts? And then we'll get to our kind of conclusions here.
Sure. As far as additional thoughts to what you were saying, I mean, you broke down pretty thoroughly what the generic system, filtration process is for cities and towns. And it's good to know that we actually have a process, or at least we know we had it, but, just it's pretty thorough. But there's definitely things that get through there. And that's the part that I get concerned with, and finding ways to further filter out the water that was already filtered, because, from the plant to your home, a lot of bad stuff can happen. I mean, if you saw the pipes that this water passes through, you'd have a hard time drinking that faucet water. So that's my 2 cents on that. I mean, I do have ideas as far as like what we can do when it gets to the home, but that's my 2 cents on what you just said.
Great. We're going to get to your final thoughts here. I'm going to wrap up with my final thoughts first. I want to just get to, I was left here confused, scratching my head. Where does my water in Cleveland, Ohio come from? Somebody said, well, it's probably Lake Erie. John, I think it was probably you we were talking about it. And I was like, well, that makes the most sense. It's sad that I don't even know. So I want to confirm that our source of drinking water is Lake Erie, and sometimes from the upstreams of Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, and Lake Huron, as well as the rivers and streams that flow into these lakes. The remaining water comes from rain and snow in the Lake Erie draining basin, including the streams and the rivers into Lake Erie. Now, here's the statement from the city of Cleveland at their water service treatment. We use our surface water drawn from our 4 intakes in Lake Erie. Our intake systems are located a considerable distance offshore to protect our water from possible contamination. Your water goes through a treatment process that includes removing small debris, filtering, and disinfecting, as we had described earlier. Cleveland Water regularly collects and tests about 300 water samples a day to ensure that our water consumers receive exceptional to ensure our customers receive exceptional federal and state drinking standards. So, again, at least that's what they're saying. The sad part is, for you to know, you'd actually have to go there. Now, final thoughts here for me are this. What are the solutions when it comes to clean drinking water and providing it to the public? 7 quick points: filtration systems, boiling, chlorination, U.S. disinfection, reverse osmosis, rainwater harvesting, and desalination. I'm not going to go into the depths of all of those because I think we really got a good idea of it when we talked about how the treatment facilities work in total. But overall, the choice of solution depends on the availability of resources, the level of contamination, and the specific needs of the community. Now, this is what matters to me, the guy that doesn't trust the government. This is the question I ask: is government water safe? The safety of government-provided water depends on various factors. Of course it does, including the quality. I'm sorry?
Various factors.
Yeah, it always does, including the quality of the source water, the treatment process, and the distribution system. In many developed countries, government water systems are subject to strict regulations and monitoring to ensure that the water is safe to drink. However, in some cases, there may be issues with water quality due to aging infrastructure, pollution, or other factors. It is important to note that even if the government water is considered safe, there may be instances where localized contamination occurs. For example, lead can leach into water from pipes and fixtures in older homes or buildings, even if the water leaving the treatment plant is safe. To ensure the safety of your drinking water, you can contact your local supplier for a copy of their annual water quality report. This report will outline the results of water quality testing and any violations of water quality standards. You can also take the additional steps, such as using a home water filtration system or having your water tested by a certified laboratory. Ba-boom, boom. And John, what are your final thoughts wrapping up the topic?
I trust my government, so I have no problems there. I think I'm fine if they say water bottles is the way to go. Cool.
Is that the
And
chip
I'll
in the
just
back of your
disregard-
head talking?
I'll disregard any warning that anybody that's actually concerned with their own health, and I'll just use whatever water, even if it smells chlorinated, lights on fire, or kills everybody in my neighborhood. So, no, obviously I went way too long in that sarcastic rant. I am definitely a big person for yeah, okay, it's great. There's a lot of stuff going on before it gets to you in the house, but I want to be in control between the house and my glass of water. And so there's And I also learned that it's huge if you want to structure your water, and there's vortexing. So I'm throwing out these keywords that you can look up. Vortexing can help structure your water, and structured water is living water. And the water that comes through your faucet is dead water because it's not structured. And when you drink structured water and vortexed water, it's like a buttery water. It's actually it's a pleasuring thing. Like it's just good. It's just you'll know. And the first time I had it, it felt like my tongue was a sponge to the water, which was very weird. So those things, take a look at that stuff. I mean, definitely you can get, there's different types of filters. There's gravity ones, there's pressure ones, there's electronic ones. Put one in your, there's whole house solutions. There's sink ones, there's shower ones. I mean, if you're going to do anything, get like a gravity one. And then if you want to step up from that, get one for your shower, because your skin absorbs a lot, especially for those of us that like hot showers. But then I ended up with a cold shower, so I feel like I evened that out, you know. But yeah, when you take that hot shower, your pores open up, and then in come all these chemicals. So there's a lot of things to consider, but if you want to simplify it, yeah, take control by learning about different filtration systems.
You point out a reliable assumption we all make. The amount, the CVS receipt list of chemicals I've listed today in today's episode, used throughout the different stages of your water's life before, like John said, it leaves that treatment facility and is in your cup in your living room. All the different phases of chemicals, there's a huge assumption that it's trustworthy, because again, so much of this life is reliable on the experts. You can't be an expert on everything. I mean, think about the guy who's an expert on cardiology, can like literally put together your heart. That guy can't also be an expert on plastics and water and food, and so we're very compartmentalized, and I think that's how it's easy to get away with some of these things. So we've listed, like John said, I think that was a great proposal. The best thing we could do is highlight all these key terms and at least lead the horse to water. And it's up to you to drink it all up and how far you want to take your research. So see what I'd love to know. Head down into the comments. You can always reach out to John and I on our social medias. We would love to know if you find anything in regards to the chemicals used in this process, or anything we didn't even address in regards to this. Drop down into the comments or message us in any way. Find us on our social medias, because I think we're all kind of left in the ignorant, and that's maybe calculated so that way not too many people know what's right from what's wrong. So, John, everybody, thank you for watching. If we made you laugh, if we made you think, the best thing you could do to support this episode is take this link, share it around. Text it to your friends, post it on your Facebook. That's how you support our show. We do this every Thursday, so the best way to support the content, if you like it, is to share it around. Otherwise, you can catch all of our content at our website at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. You can find me on all my social medias at Grgat57. And John, where can they find you?
You can easily go to newagehuman.com, and then you can get all access to that. And also, the Instagram handle is Jon Astacio, JONASTACIO.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next Thursday. Peace.